Welcome to our today's Collaboard webinar. Today I will talk about mastering challenges of online meetings and workshops, and I will show you tips and tricks how you can use the online whiteboard Collaboard for your online meetings and workshops, and what you can do with this tool. So it's more for advanced users, so we will focus on specific features and elements which are relevant for these use cases. My name is Michael Görög. I'm the COO of IBV. IBV is a Swiss software company, and it's also the company which developed Collaboard. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm working now for more than 5 years with online whiteboards, and I helped a lot of organizations and companies to start using this new technology. So with Collaboard, we are very active on LinkedIn. So there was a question to increase the volume. So let me do this shortly, if it's for others the same. So it should be a little bit better now. I hope you can hear me better. So please write shortly in the chat that we know. Otherwise, try to increase the speaker of your device. So last thing about introduction. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, and in case you want to follow us on LinkedIn and also see what we're doing, you can just scan here with your mobile phone the QR code, and you will be redirected to the LinkedIn profile. So enough advertise and introduction. So let's jump to the first topic, and we will have a look at our agenda today. So first of all, I will outline a little bit why should you start using an online whiteboard for your meetings and for your workshops. Then we will have a look at the specific facilitator tools, which provides Collaboard to you to facilitate the workshop, to organize this better, and also to steer all your attendees. Then we will check out some best practices. So here I will give you some tips, and also we will focus on the speed, how you can speed up creation of online whiteboards. And the last part of our presentation will be about onboarding ideas, icebreaker exercises, so how you can use things like this to basically break the ice when your attendees access an online whiteboard the first time, or when you do something which where the people don't know each other yet. So that's our agenda, and let's have first of all a look shortly at the challenges of online meetings. So I'm sure you have seen many of them by yourself as well. So a lot of online meetings now take place when you're at home, and you get easily distracted. So there are studies where we have seen that people are getting a coffee, watching TV, and doing many other things than paying attention to an online meeting. And I will show you afterwards how you can solve this challenge with an online whiteboard. Also, a lot of meetings are just monologues by one person talking and the others listening. So you don't really get into the flow where you create something together. So it's only about communication, like sharing information and talking, but not really this aspect of co-creation. And this is something where an online whiteboard is very useful, because you can co-create together in real time. And one aspect, which is maybe something you also have experienced, a lot of people are using PowerPoint presentations. And PowerPoint presentation, they're always very similar. So if you want to have something more exciting or also different, you can use an online whiteboard, similar to how I'm using this now, also to present. And another thing which you have in online meetings, there's always someone talking. So really having time to think is something you don't have. So this is also an atmosphere you can create when you using an online whiteboard. And during a meeting, we also have this phenomenon that there are some people talking a lot and other people which are maybe a little bit introvert, they don't really participate a lot into the meeting. And on the online whiteboard, we can change that. So these are some of these challenges we see a lot when doing online meetings. And a whiteboard now helps because it provides you several advantages, like it's a place where you can create together, interact in real time. Everyone is encouraged to participate, so you can create elements like this post sticky notes and things like that. And you don't need to speak to create content, so everybody can participate, can create something. And it also opens up the world of being creative again. It brings back the whiteboard experience you might know from the real office or from the project room. And in the case of Collaboard, what's quite cool, this is a web-based application. So you can access the online whiteboard without the need to download an application. So this is something which I think is very relevant. And we see now that that a lot of companies are planning for hybrid work, so where home office is much more present. And in this case, an online whiteboard is a great solution to bring all the people together collaborating. And to be able to leverage all these advantages, you not only need, let's say, some digital sticky notes and images and stuff like that. So you need a set of features which helps you to facilitate a meeting and the workshop. And this is now the next thing which we will check out together. So we will have a look at the Facilitator Tools in Collaboard. So there is a set of tools like a timer, a presentation mode, quick links, mouse movement voting, and get attention, which really helps you when you have many people on the same board to organize them, to bring them to the same place. And what I will do now is I want to show you how you can work with these features. So first of all, when you do an online meeting, people can disable the camera and then you don't see them anymore. Now with the online whiteboard, this is a little bit different. So what we can do here, we can, for example, enable the mouse movement of people. And in this case, you see where the people are on the board. And in this case, now you see the mouse from Albert moving on my canvas. So I always know where Albert is on the board, what content he is looking at. And the cool thing is as well, if I don't see his mouse moving anymore, I know he's not there anymore. Maybe he's doing something different. And this feature here is called mouse movement. And to enable this, you can click here on the upper right on this icon, which is called Activate User Presence. And now what you can do, you can select all the people from whom you want to see the mouse pointer. So in this case, I did this for Albert, and I can automatically select this for all, or I can just select single people. And as soon as I see that, I see the mouse pointer of others moving around. So this is a first element which we can use basically to see a little bit the presence of remote attendees on our online whiteboard. Now, to show you a little bit better how presentation mode, get attention, and these other facilitator tools work, I will invite someone else to our board. And to do that, I click here on this invite button. And what we can do now, we can invite registered users or we can invite guests. So a registered user usually needs to create an account. He needs to go through a verification process. And this is highly recommended when you are working in a secure environment. But it also takes some time. Maybe it's a little bit complicated for first-time users. And therefore, there is also the option to invite people just using a link. And in our case, we call them guests. So in this case, guest just needs to click on the link and he can access the board. And what you can do here, you can initially tell which permissions these people should have, which you invite. And you can always change this afterwards, of course. But maybe at the beginning, you don't want the people to interfere with the content on your board. So you just give them viewer permissions. Then you have some features where you can set how long the link is valid, if you want to protect it by a password. Or what you can do as well, you can enable user identification. And if you enable a user identification, then the people also needs to write down their name so you know who they are. So they're like a guest, so they don't need to register or verify an account, but they need to identify who they are, and this can be very useful. So now let's simulate this. So I'm just copying here this link, and I'm opening a new window on my browser. And actually, what you're doing now, I'm going on the right side into an incognito browser. So what you see now on the right, so you see now two browser windows, while on the left, I'm logged in as Michael. And on the right, I'm logging in as a guest who has been invited to our session. And as we enabled user identification, this new person needs to write down his name. So let's say in this case, it's Johnny. And Johnny is now as well accessing our board. So in this case, Johnny also gets a short onboarding video, which he can click away if he doesn't want to watch this. And he's now on the same board like Michael, and we see this here on the upper right. We have Michael, then we have Albert, which we have seen before, and now in this case we have Johnny. So what you see now, that Michael on the left side is on a completely different position than Johnny, and in this case, to bring people to a certain location on the board, you can use this get attention feature. And this is working quite easily. So you just click here on get attention. Now you select a specific user, or you select all users. In this case, we only want Johnny to come here. And as soon as I click that, you see now on the right side that the browser window is coming directly here. So this is this get attention mode. And this allows you to bring people to a specific position on the board. And this feature is only available if you are a user with facilitator permission. So this is not something everybody can do. So you need to have the appropriate rights to be able to do that. So this is a get attention feature. Now, maybe let's imagine now Michael is going through this presentation again, and he wants that Johnny is automatically following him. And in this case, we have an option to enable here something called presentation mode. And if I'm doing that, so you see now Michael started the presentation mode. And as soon as Michael is moving around the canvas, so you see that Johnny is following him immediately. So this is called presentation mode. And the cool thing in this case here is that I don't need to share my screen anymore by using Zoom. So in this case, I can activate the presentation mode in Collaboard, and all the people or the selected group of people are following me on the board. And if I disable presentation mode, then they are free again to move around the board by themselves if they want to do that. Now, a next element of the facilitator tools is the timer. So maybe you want to time bomb a brainstorming session, telling your people you have only 5 minutes to create your ideas. And in this case, you see here that the facilitator has the option to start the timer. And as soon as the timer is started, you see all the other attendees see, okay, there is now this clock activated and it's counting down. And sometimes these 5 minutes are not enough, or it's too long. And as a facilitator, you always have the option then also to add some more minutes. So you can basically extend the time by adding 1 minute or even 5. You also have the option to stop the timer if you want to do that. And what you can do as well, you can remove time, and when the last minute starts, the timer starts blinking red. And in this case, you know, oh, okay, very soon we are over, so hurry up, add your last idea. So this is this timer feature which you can use. Now we have an option called quick links, and the quick links are another element to help you guide the people on the canvas, or to do a presentation like I did. And let me show you how this is working. And I think we have seen this collaborative part. So in this case, we can go back to one single window. And if you want to create now a quick link, we can do it like this. So select everything you see here, like all these tools or all these elements. And now when you selected the group or one single element, I'm sorry, I think I need to drink something again. And now after selecting everything, you have here the option to create a quick link. And if I click on that, I can give a name to a quick link. So let's say here, this is a quick link number 1. And now I create this quick link. And what we did in this case, we created a link to this specific area on the board. So if we move now away from this area, so let's say we go somewhere completely different, we have now this quick link to jump back. And to access a quick link, we click here on the bottom right corner. We click here on quick links. Now you see there are already some which I created before. And now we have here this quick link number 1. What I can do now, I can double click on that, or I can also use the keyboard shortcut like Ctrl+Shift+8. And if I'm clicking on that, then you see you are directed back to this selected area. And the nice thing is now that the quick links, they're available to all the other users as well. So you can create an agenda for your workshop. And then if somebody is lost, you don't need always to use the get attention mode. So you can just tell them, click on quick links and go to point number 5, for example. And then very easily the people can jump to this part on the board. Now the last thing I would like to have a look at, which is belongs to this Facilitator Tools, is the voting in Collaboard. And let's make a short example. So here we have one sticky note. Now let's create another. So here we have a yellow one. Maybe increase a little bit the size. Okay. So now in this case, what we can do, we have the option to vote and rate every object. So in this case here, we can say, I like the idea or I don't like it. And we have the option to do a star rating. And every user can do this now on every object. So usually you tell them, yeah, I'll do this on these 5 ideas. First, maybe you do a voting and then a rating. And in the end, you have then the option to also display the results. So you can move the results around as well. So to create an order and to show, okay, this is now the idea which we want to pursue. And I highly recommend to use voting and rating when you have many ideas on the board, because it's an easy and fast way to create to prioritize basically on what you want to continue working on. So these are these facilitator tools. And the next thing we will have a look at together is these best practices for an online whiteboard. So let's zoom in a little bit. So first of all, what I have seen a lot is when you use an online whiteboard, try really to tell a story. And you can do this in a very nice way. So when you organize a meeting, a workshop, really try to create a flow, something like this here, where you have a start and then everything is connected. So people don't get lost. They understand what elements belong together. Maybe also you have a sequence. So things which start first, second, and third, and so on. And using these elements for storytelling is something where I made very good experience, especially when you have people on your whiteboard which are not very familiar yet with the technology. So creating an onboarding story or something like that is something which you absolutely should do. So if you want to add a new element to this story, so what we can do here in this case, we can, for example, click on shapes, then select here one of these shapes. So maybe in this case, we say, okay, we want something, so we want to clap. So we put here another shape. And now to connect things, this is quite easy. Also, you just grab here this point and connect them. And now we can also adjust this connection. So now you see it's a straight line, but maybe I would like to have it dashed or dots. So I really like the dashed line because it's somehow like on a pirate map. When you draw the way to the treasure, it looks a little bit like this. Then we can adjust the color, we can adjust the size, and so on. And this is quite cool to create a storyline directly on your board. Now, a second best practice element which I recommend to you is a zoom level, and this is quite important. So you see here on the lower right, you see a zoom level. At the moment, I am zoomed in to 129%. So you need to imagine that on an online whiteboard. So thank you for the question in the chat. So I think I will answer them afterwards. So we will have then a discussion. So if you have more questions, just put them to the chat. And then afterwards, we will go through them together. So regarding the zoom level, so why it's important. So here you see this person working on a map. So you also can either look from far away on your board or you're very close. And in Collaboard, it's like this. So usually it's optimized when to 60 to 80%. So now I'm at the level of 100%. And if I create a new sticky note, and write down my idea, in this case, everything is optimized, so I see it very good. If I'm at 60%, let's say it like this, so let's go to 60%, I see already a little bit more. So if I create a new sticky note, also no problem. But if I go at 5% or something like this, and if I create now a sticky note, I have a little bit of trouble. So when you also prepare a board for your meeting and for your workshop, make sure that all the elements are designed like that in case your attendees are really working, that they are working between 60 and 80%, because in this case, they have a good overview about what's on the board for this relevant task. And then in this case, when they create something, they're not lost. So they always see the content with the size which is useful for them. So this is this best practice regarding the zoom level, which is very important. And now the next best practice is about when you create a board. So it can be very time consuming when you create a workshop board, maybe for a 1 or 2 day workshop. And there are also professional people doing that. And usually I also spend one day preparing a board with a cool story and which is looking very nice. So this can create a lot of effort. So to speed things up, of course, there are templates you can use or workshops elements. And I would like you to show now how this works. So let's go somewhere where we don't have so much content. So let's say we are planning to do a retrospective meeting with our people. So we can click here on templates. And now we see a lot of templates. For example, here we have one for a retrospective. So I can use directly this template. And in this case, start immediately with the retrospective meeting. So in this case, this is already pre-filled a little bit. So it's a what should the team start doing, what should the team stop doing, and so on. But maybe this doesn't really fit your case. So what you might need is not a template like this. So maybe you want to start a little bit earlier. And what we provide to you here in Collaboard is the following. So let's delete this one here. So we provide you also the option to work with empty workshops elements. So in this case here, we might want to create one column, let's say a blue one. So we have here this column. Then let's say we would like to add a second one, a red one or a green one or whatever. So we can add this one as well. And you see now, you just adjust now the activity name by clicking on that. This is, for example, to do. So maybe you would like to leave an instruction for the people. And using these templates and these predefined elements helps you to speed up board creation and everything you do. So this is something you really should consider doing when starting with an online whiteboard, having these templates. And some other tricks are you can also copy and paste content between boards. So this means you can have multiple whiteboards open at the same time. So if I'm just doing another browser tab, in this case here, and now we say, let's say we have a new board. And I don't want to start from scratch. So in this case, I want maybe to copy all of the things we see here. I can just select them. And then we are copy and paste using the keyboard, copy content from one board to another. So this is also something which is quite useful. So usually when I'm preparing a workshop, I have some elements on different boards. So I can just grab them and copy them to the board where I need them. So this is one tip, copy and paste between boards. Then there is also an option to double click if you want to use the last element. So let me show you how this works. So let's say we are using a lot of these triangles. So I'm using this triangle, I'm adding this. And Collaboard now remembers, okay, the last thing you added over the menu to the canvas was this triangle. So now if you just do a double click on the board, you can get another triangle. And in this case, you are much faster when you need to do things like that. And of course, if you want now to have 8, 16, 32 triangles, you can do this by selecting all of them and copy them. Now in Collaboard, you can always move around on the canvas. So there is no right click to select or no way to move between panning and selecting. And this is why we have this keyboard shortcut, for example, for area select. Or it's also possible to select it here in the menu. And if I choose area select, usually I'm doing this with the keyboard, I have now the option to select all of these items, then to move them together. There is an option to create a group. So when they grouped, I can resize them. and so on. And with R, I can enable and disable this area selections. And you see this slightly here on the right. So if it's enabled, then the icon is a little bit different compared when it's disabled. So this is something very useful, especially also when you zoom out. Now you say, okay, I would like to select all of these things. You can use that and then deactivating this with one click again. Now, another thing to speed up the creation of your boards is using default settings. So in Collaboard, we provide you default settings for nodes, text, and connectors. And when you click here on settings and on default, you have now the selections of these default settings. So for example, for nodes, we can say that every new node should be with this indie flower font. Every text you add should be aligned in the center. It should be bold. It should be italic and underlined. And as soon as I add now a new node, you see it's italic, it's bold, it's underlined, and in this indie flower font. So this is a way how you can standardize elements on the board. Of course, when you copy and paste an element, it also copy and paste the style. So in this case, you always have the same. This is as well available for text and for connections. So imagine now you do a workflow or you create a mind map, and if you connect two elements, so you see now this is the default connection, but we might want to have it red. It should be with some arrows. Then we would like to have a dashed line instead of an arrow, diamonds, and it should be really much better visible. So in this case, if we connect now something new, then you see you can basically, with these general settings, adjust the connections. And there is also an option to apply this to all existing connections, or you can restore everything you created in a board to factory default settings. So this is another tip how you can basically speed up creation of a board. So select the appropriate default settings, and then you are much faster in creating elements. So another thing which is helping you to be faster is other keyboard shortcuts. So let me show you this page down or page up. So in this case, if we click page down or page up, you see now that I can switch fastly by putting elements in the background or getting them to the front again. So this is also another way. And if you want to learn more about the keyboard shortcuts in Collaboard, check out our help at help.collaboard.app. There you find a complete list, which then really helps you to speed up content creations on your board. Yeah, and that was all about best practices working on an online whiteboard. So now when you are sure the whiteboard is the right element for your meeting and for your workshop, when you're familiar with the Facilitator tool and when you created your first board, it's about inviting the users and it's about creating an onboarding experience. So these people which are joining your boards have a good experience and start adopting and learning technology in a nice way. So let's have a look at some ideas and examples for user onboarding. So first of all, it's possible to also put videos on Collaboard. So in this case, what you can do, you can put a YouTube video on the canvas. And in this case here, we have a YouTube video which is telling the end user basically the basics of Collaboard. So this is something you can do. Usually this is useful when you know people will not start working with the board at the same time. So this is some sort of self-service or self-help you can directly embed to the board. Now, much more often, all the people join the board at the same time when the meeting starts or the workshops begin. And there you have now certain onboarding things you can do. And one thing I really like is the "Where are you from?" icebreaker exercise. So in this case here, we see a world map. If you're doing a local workshop or a meeting where people are all from the same country, you can also upload another map. And in this case, what we're doing here, we are either putting the name on a sticky note, so saying, okay, Michael is coming here from Switzerland, for example, or what else we can do, we can also say, upload a selfie from yourself, taking a picture with the camera in Collaboard, or if you're famous enough, just go to the image search, and then you find some of the images online, and you can drag and drop them directly to the canvas. So in this case, this is one thing how you can basically also onboard people. And the cool thing is that they learn fastly how to work with sticky notes, maybe add images. And sometimes it's also fun to see then about the pictures they upload or where people are based all around the world. So this is one idea, this "Where are you from?" icebreaker exercise. Then something I really like to do is a thesis to start. So maybe you want to have like a discussion, or you want to have a different mindset, or you also want to disrupt the specific thinking in an online workshop or meeting. So then you can start with a provocative thesis. Like in this case, we say that online meetings are much more efficient than offline meetings. Then you see here this area with this plus, 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 minus, and minus, minus. And in this case, the people now have the task to add a shape, like you see here. So adding a shape, then filling the shape out. So put a fill color and move the shape there if they agree or if they don't agree. And I think in my case, I would say I'm actually convinced that online meetings are sometimes more efficient, but not always. And this is how you can easily start with a thesis at the beginning of the meeting. The next cool idea is to bring in the favorite movies of your attendees. So this always tells something about the preferences of the people. And in this case here in Collaboard, you can't just ask them to write the favorite movie on a sticky note. Maybe that's a little bit boring after already working with the sticky notes in another icebreaker. So in this case, you can ask them to basically search on YouTube and add the trailer of their favorite movie, something like I did here. So this is another way how to break the ice. And then usually that's quite funny to see the different preferences of the people you have in the meeting. Another nice exercise is Scrabble. So this needs a little bit more time and also preparation. So here one idea is that each participant writes one or more letters of their name or of something else on the sticky note. And then afterwards, you use all these letters to create a slogan or a motto of the group for the workshop. And this is something I did here. So you see all these different sticky notes. And then we brought them together to our slogan, Great Minds Think Together. So this is another idea how you can do this with Scrabble. What I also like a lot is a mood barometer. So here you see some post-its, and now ask the people to some emoticons, and now ask the people to put their name or a sticky note with their name or a picture besides how they're feeling. And then it's quite cool to get the mood of the people at the beginning of a meeting. And if you like these onboarding or icebreaker exercises, then also have a look at the templates, because this mood barometer, for example, is something you find here. So we have this icebreaker and warm-up games. There's also a football field or a template for the thesis, or in this case as well, the mood barometer. So you can just add it, and you don't need to create this by yourself. Now, let me show you the second last idea. So this is something where it's more about drawing. So in this case, it's called the circle drawing game. And each participants take a line and must draw a circle in less than 1 minute. So in this case now, here you see some ideas. So you can start using the drawing features of Collaboard, and then you need to say, okay, what you're doing here, maybe you're doing something like this, or you're creating the sun, and so on. So in this case, people also learn how to draw, and this can be also done with the mouse, so you don't need to have basically a touch screen for these simple exercises. And it's also quite cool because this usually is not related to the topic of your workshop at all, and people start getting familiar with the application and the online whiteboard. Yeah, and the last exercise I want to show you today is about how do you rate today's session. So in this case, you may put the different agenda points on sticky notes, and then people can just start voting on the different elements. And with that, you have the option then to collect feedback by the end of the workshop. Yes, and that was everything I wanted to show you today. So basically about how to master these challenges working with an online whiteboard, and how to use the facilitator tools in Collaboard, how to speed up board creation and apply other best practices, and some ideas for icebreaker exercises. So thank you very much for watching and attending. And now I'd like to open up the discussion. So let me go through the chat. And also if you have questions, feel free to ask them now.